Jason, can you talk to make sure that we can hear you? Yep. Are we good? Okay.
Okay. Okay, let's call the Pipestone City Council meeting for October 7th, 2024 to order. Could I get a roll call, please?
Mayor Delaney,
Here.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Here.
Councilmember Thompson,
Here.
Councilmember Swanson,
Here.
and Councilmember Colbeck.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. If you're able, please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Next up is approve the agenda. Is there any additions, changes, or deletions to our current agenda? And I guess in the consent agenda, I would like to pull the September 16th regular meeting minutes and the October 3rd special meeting minutes for corrections, and then we can address them at our next regular meeting. Is there any other additions or changes to the current agenda? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those changes as presented.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no, and motion carries. Consent agenda is up next. The consent agenda includes the following: the September 19th, 2024 special meeting minutes, the September 28th, 2024 special meeting minutes, and also the payment of claims and listing of bills. So I'd entertain a motion to approve that consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Community concerns. Deb, do we have anybody signed in for community concerns?
No one is signed in and we haven't received any phone calls or emails.
Okay, well, thank you. We'll move ahead then to presentations, and next up is the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. Marty Seifert will make a presentation, so I'll turn things over to you, Marty. Thank you.
Great. Wish the legislature was this efficient. By way of introduction, my name is Marty Seifert. I represent Flaherty Hood and the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, which Pipestone has been a longtime member. This is cities outside the 7-county metro that have unique needs: economic development, taxation, local government aid, wastewater, street improvements, and childcare, and all sorts of other issues that we work on. We follow the orders of the board of directors, which is made up mostly of mayors and administrators and city councilmen from around the state. And I'm just here to I come once a year to give a update of what happened at the legislative session. I handed a packet out before the meeting. There's some extras on the back table there, but I'm going to have you pull out just that inside chart that looks like this. It's got a bunch of rectangular boxes in it. And this is just a little bit about what happened, or more probably precisely what didn't happen in the last legislative session. This was supposed to be a bonding year and a non-budget year, but the legislature passed a supplemental budget and did not pass a bonding bill. So they did kind of opposite of what custom and usage has been. So here's the items that were brought forward from the board. On the first item, local government aid and taxes, we had a bill for adding inflation and population adjustment automatically every year. There'd be a kind of a local government aid increase. So you could plan on that increase every year for your budgeting purposes. House, Senate, and Governor were not big on that proposal. And I think the main reason that I heard from lawmakers is that when you're on a council here, you understand if you put all of your departments on automatic increases every year, are you really doing your job? And so I think the legislators said, we may give you an increase in LGA, but you got to come and ask for it and justify it just like anything else. And that makes sense to me. But of course, the board wanted us to try. And so we did have the bill brought forward. The next one was allowing cities to authorize their own sales tax increase under certain circumstances. This would be probably capped at like a 0.5% increase only for capital projects, still be subject to referendum of your voters, just like it is now, except it would take the legislature out of the mix where they have to give you permission to do a local sales tax. It was looked favorably upon by the House and Senate, but it was pulled out in conference committee. The House tax chair is not big on local option sales taxes, and so there's actually a moratorium on it right now to do any more of those for a while. That's in statute until they kind of figure out how to handle that on a statewide basis. On EMS, I think many of you know our ambulance and EMS services, particularly in rural Minnesota, are under great duress. We had a bill for 120 million of one-time relief. We have a lot of cross subsidy that happens. Everybody's ambulance services are different. Some cities, the city owns it. In some cases, the hospital runs it. In some cases, a nonprofit owns it. In some cases, a private profit owns it, like North Ambulance up in Marshall. So sometimes the county has a joint venture with the city. So they're all different. But the reality is that Medicare, Medicaid, if you go out and have a car accident 10 minutes after this meeting, you dial 911 on your cell phone. Within a reasonable amount of time, you expect an ambulance to show up or a first responder to show up and get you to the hospital. Unfortunately, what's going on right now is we have a lot of those services under duress in rural Minnesota. Medicare and Medicaid pay about 39 cents on the dollar for the services rendered. So, I mean, I don't care how efficient of a business person you are, you can't make a business go on 39 cents on the dollar. It just doesn't work. Well, as you know, rural Minnesota is full of a lot of old people and poor people. And as they call ambulance services, and it's paid for by Medicare, Medicaid, there's not enough to pay the bill from everybody else who's younger or has insurance coverage. And so there's a gap there of EMS services. We have a lot of our smaller cities that are just folding up and saying we're not doing EMS and first responder services anymore. So what happens is if someone in their community has a heart attack or a car accident or what have you, now the neighboring town that might be 9 miles away has to take the slack up and figure that out to get over there. And we have more people, frankly, dying because of that. And so the legislature listened. They pulled the metro area entirely out of the bill. So all the money is going to rural Minnesota. That we did pass 24 million of one-time aid. That was on a grant basis to kind of show that you needed it. But we will come back next session because this was a Band-Aid. This was not a permanent solution. It's not permanent funding. And frankly, this is the federal government's responsibility to try to get Medicare, Medicaid, or largely federal programs for them to get this solved and try to get us up to parity, at least on those Medicare, Medicaid calls. So we're going to continue to work on that. Water and wastewater infrastructure, most of these items go on the bonding bill. Point source implementation grants, PSIG cap increase, water infrastructure fund. These things help pay for your water treatment centers, your sewer and water plants, and most of the money goes to rural Minnesota. We don't have the economy of scale out here to pay for these large, expensive projects, largely mandated by the MPCA to keep up with their ever-increasing standards on water. And so, it falls on your lap to increase sewer and water fees if we don't have some of these dollars available to pay for these infrastructure improvements. And so we will come back next year. Supposed to be a bonding year. They didn't pass a bonding bill. They actually didn't even get it out of the Ways and Means Committee on the House side. By Constitution in Minnesota, to borrow money, the bill must originate in the House and it must have a 60% majority in the House and Senate. So the legislators of both parties have to work together to pass a bonding bill. So a lot of the kind of junky stuff oftentimes falls out of the bill. The Republicans aren't real big on kind of these porky projects. And so they usually say, hey, if it's for water, sewer, streets, things like that, to vote for the bill. Your representative Schumacher has crossed over and has voted for the bonding bill to get some of these kind of water projects and things, Lewis and Clark and different things through. So he does have a good working relationship on bonding with the other side of the aisle. So I do want to give him a shout out that he does work well with the other legislators. On the backside, childcare, housing, economic development, as you can see, there's big X's next to all of those. Funding for the grant program goes in the bonding bill. There's a bill for licensure reform because there's a lot of regulations on childcare that are frankly silly. You live next to South Dakota. They're able to have a lot of childcare centers without all the kind of nonsense regulations that Minnesota has. And so we're trying to give the legislature ideas of way to simplify this because we keep losing these at-home childcare centers like my kids went to. I'd have 5 or 6 kids with a mom. They're making it tougher and tougher for these people to operate their businesses out of their homes. And so they end up going into these big centers. And that's not what everybody wants. And everybody wants these big childcare centers. So we're trying to figure out a way to make things both regulation wise better and funding wise. We aren't going to fund our way out of this and we aren't going to deregulate our way out of this. The both parties have to work together to solve this. And then BDPI is a program for job creation. I think Pipestone might have used it when Bayliner closed many, many years ago. To retrofit public infrastructure for businesses that either come or expand, things like service roads, sewer lines, water lines, etc. And then finally on transportation, they did have a transportation supplemental bill. One thing we did get in there was another $11.3 million in one-time funding for small city streets, which Pipestone is in that program. Last year, we finally got a permanent program in place for small city street funding. Because cities under the Minnesota Constitution, cities under 5,000 do not get 1 penny out of the gas tax. So I'm going to fill up when I leave Pipestone today down at the Casey's. And even though you have as many lane miles in Pipestone as say Redwood Falls or Morris, which are 5,100 people, because they hit the 5,000 trigger, they get $300,000 to $400,000 of street aid. So when we put this program in place last year, we wanted a permanent program that brings the small cities in under a statutory authority versus constitutional authority. So when you get your LGA checks now, there'll be another check for street aid year after year, twice a year. And this money here that we got this year is supplemental aid that'll go in addition to your regular aid. This is something that our board of directors was very big on the last few years, and we finally got a pass last year. So, you pay us dues to get something done, and that alone will help pay for some things because it's not cheap to seal coat. It's not cheap to do, all these different things with your street program. And our goal is to try to get that program, bolstered up. I have a lot of cities in my territory that are just missing the cut. Laverne, Pipestone, St. James, Wyndham, might be 4,300, 4,700, 4,800 people, have just as many street problems as Morris or Redwood Falls and some of the cities that are at 5,100. But there's this huge cliff of about 200,000 or 300,000 that cuts off with just a few hundred people. So we're going to continue to work on that. No bonding bill for the local bridge replacement or road improvement program. We did get 15 million more in the corridors of commerce program, which are the major thoroughfares like Highway 23, Highway 14, that connect rural Minnesota. So in addition to the dollars we got last year put in the program, we got another 15 million put into that. And that's mainly for improvements. It could be, repaving them, or fixing potholes or whatever it is. But that largely is spread out across the state now. That's a program that our office came up with. Our mayors talked to us about trying to, make sure all these major roads get connected with good funding. And then when Governor Dayton was in, this was probably close to 10 years ago, Wright and Hennepin County got 98% of the funding one year. And so we had to go in and have the legislature, all we had to do is go talk to all the legislators from the other 85 counties, and we got that passed. That should never, ever happen where 2 counties get 98% of the funding. It's just ridiculous. So we got that changed statutorily. And then we did get a bill passed to mitigate the burdens of this legislation from last year on greenhouse gas impacts that would have probably shut down a lot of transportation projects in rural Minnesota. There's a lot of people environmentally minded that passed this with good intentions, but what ended up happening is it was so restrictive, the road builders told us it shut all the programs down to be able to get roads built. So we had to go in and kind of change that around. So with that, I tried to fit 50 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound bag. What kind of questions do you have for me?
Just a comment, Marty. I tell you, they did some good work. There's still some work to be done. but I'm pleased with some of the work that they came across, especially in EMS. The licensing reform on the childcare. Certainly, there is a shortage of childcare in rural Minnesota, and they are the workforce behind the workforce. Without childcare, you don't have a workforce in today's world. Really, with both parents working or single moms or whatever, single dads, you have to have it. And yeah, it's a dilemma. It's more of a problem than just being close to a state that has less reform. It's more of a problem where they need the support to make it a functioning business where they can turn a profit, and then you'll have more childcare. And that's the kind of assistance we need. So, but yeah, that's just my comment on it. But I certainly appreciate all your efforts and your report here. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll be back next year.
Sounds good. Next up is our reports from our local department heads, Recreation Director. And we do have a report in our packet. Go ahead, Pete.
Good evening, everybody.
Robert Peterson, our Recreational Director for the City of Pipestone.
In your packet, we just got some things jotted down for you to look at, fall activities and how many people are registered for those. Just want to highlight on item F on fall activities, tumble time. It was new this year. It's like a beginning gymnastics for preschool kids, and went over really big this year. So we're going to extend that and do some more sessions here later in October, November, December. So, and then we're going to do our little tykes again, which is start back up in November, which is every Wednesday. That's a typo. It should be Wednesday mornings at the rec center for $1. People can come in and we set up bouncy houses, and we got toys for them to play with. There's a place to get some exercise for everybody, and for stay-at-home people, for daycares, for whoever wants to come. So after school program, we got 20 full-time kids with 8 drop-ins. We're going to close the pool at the rec center just for yearly maintenance. We're going to drain it. We're going to repaint the whole inside pool area this year for an update. So that'll be happening the week of October 20th through the 27th. We'll start our winter hours November 4th. The south half of the roof got completed at the rec center by New Hava Construction out of Lamar's, Iowa. That was done. And then the soccer field, the sod was laid by Elite Landscaping out of Pipestone here, and Public Works has been watering it. It's going really well. And the concession stand out there, I believe, is about 99% complete for the most part. So
Looks good.
pickleball courts, everything's going well there. Just some warranty work, some touch-up items on a couple of spots with paint and stuff like that. But we met with representative from Dunnick and Travis and I a couple of weeks ago, so that's being addressed. Something new this year at the rec center, we're offering swimming lessons for younger kids that we can, for like level 1s and maybe level 2s. Jessica Sid, who's a lifeguard this summer, she's doing some lessons. And then we'll have 2 other lifeguards from this past summer. Connor Wagner and Laura Manette are going to do lessons this winter at the rec center. So that'd be a good option for people to do that in the wintertime rather than just the summer.
What is the age group for that, Pete?
For swimming lessons?
For the swimming lessons?
Level 1 for sure, maybe level 2. Depends on depth of water and stuff like that.
So if someone had trouble with swimming lessons this summer and couldn't make it, or for one reason or another, they could continue that
Yes.
during the winter months.
Yep.
At the rec center.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not a steady time. It's kind of, okay, when works for you, when works for the guard, you come in, okay, you can get your lesson in and things like that. So
Great idea.
So
Yeah. Another option.
another option, yes. Item 10, the memberships, 24/7. We have 129 members that are using 24/7 access. We have a total of 333 members, and then 139 people are in the Silver Sneakers program, 1 pass. So on the next page, maybe just highlight, it's the aquatic center, the totals down on the bottom says total and go across. we come up with 9,672 people came to the outdoor pool this year. So give or take, but good number there. And there's also a breakdown of times of when people would show up and things like that for your reference as well. On the third page, maybe just highlight a few things. Attendance records through part of October, I guess. So you go down the first graph, go total and go all the way to the right. We've had 22,485 people come through the rec center as far as working out per se. And then go down to the next graph, go down to total. Was 3,000, put my glasses on here, 3,272 other people that have used the facility, like tanning or like Little Tykes comes in or a basketball practice, that type of thing. So in total, so far through about the first week of October, we've had 25,757 people have come through the door at the rec center. So, and then with that, it's a lot of the same people, but 2,351 times the 24/7 has been accessed. So that's been a great option for us to have too. So the last page is kind of a breakdown of times and months and when people come and use the facility for your reference. So
Question.
yes.
You kind of skipped over it quickly, the after-school program.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Could you be specific on that? Because I think a lot of people don't understand that program. And it's such a great program that we're working with the school district on. And, my comments earlier about childcare and how important that is. This is an option too for people, and people rely on this. And go ahead and give us some more information on that for the record, Pete.
Well, we have County Precipus who ran our summertime fun program along with some workers from there. They are there for for kids to come in and it's not a daycare per se because we don't do infants and stuff like that, but it's a chance for people to bring their kids at the school. We use the flex area at the elementary school, the elementary side, the elementary playground equipment and stuff like that. And it's a place for them to do activities, things like that for the kids. So we got good supervision. It's good, responsible people, and it's a good program. So you can drop in too. You don't have to necessarily sign up for the whole time, So
it's a safe option for that time period, from 3:15 till 5 or 5:30 when mom and dad get off work. Instead of the kids going home and sitting there by themselves, there's something they can be doing and with good supervision. So great. Thank you.
Yep. So anything else? Good. So. All right.
Okay.
And then we'll have a Park and Rec Board meeting this Wednesday at the Rec Center too.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Next up is Library Director, and I do not see her here. Wastewater Superintendent.
All right. Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
You all should have received my report. I guess, is there any questions on that at all? If not, I guess probably the couple big things right now, we're finishing up some flushing hydrants, hopefully be done here the end of this week, first part of next. This is our annual flushing that we do. Currently discharging our ponds, make room for the next window or winter window. Probably a couple of the bigger projects right now I've been working on is this Department of Health is working with updating our wellhead protection plan. We already have a wellhead protection plan in place, but since the water plant was built and we added a new well, that needs to get updated. So we are currently working with a firm to do some of the work with that. Bolton Meek will probably be involved as well a little bit with that. It's something that's mandated by the Department of Health that we have, just has to be done. So that'll probably be a big thing here moving forward here in the next month or so. I just did get a couple emails here today that there was some stuff that getting started on it. So, a couple other things, we are getting sewer starting to herd this week. They did start today on that. Hopefully here the next week or two we'll have that completed. Still working on getting some sewer to K&A, Auto Body, and Nutrien. Had a few little hiccups along the way with DNR and MnDOT and a few items there. We still got to get some easements in place too, which we're kind of working through all that right now. So with Travis and Derek's department there. So I think we're getting closer. Just, I don't know if it's going to get done this year, but the funding package that I have for grant money doesn't have to be used till next year, June.
That was my question.
So
So
we'll be
yeah.
able to,
Okay,
we'll
good.
be able to still make it work. So
Okay,
it's not going to pay for the whole project, but it's going to pay for a good, some of it. So
and if it falls into next spring, are you thinking, or there's probably no chance to get it done this fall yet?
I'm trying to push, but we're kind of in the DNR's hands. We're kind of unfortunately crossing the trail. I kind of,
You would think the DNR would be helping us with this.
well, I tell you, it's, we had to file for a permit,
Okay,
which cost the city $1,000.
okay,
And that's not just that. We had to do it and then also cross the Casey Jones Trail as part of that as well, which is another $1,000 permit. So there's a few things that have turned into a little bit of more than what I was anticipating. Let's just put it that way. So, but
Sometimes they do waive that fee for
yeah,
government entities.
that would be nice. That would be nice if they
yeah,
would do
I
that.
think last I had heard, Travis did make a phone call to somebody in that, and they more or less said that ain't happening. So, but
Okay,
I think there's still some things getting worked on that.
well,
So,
if you can take another route and avoid their trail,
well, the problem is that if we take another route, then we're going to have to deal with the railroad. So
MnDOT
that's
and
another
the
animal that I really
sure.
want to tackle. So,
what's yeah,
yeah,
okay,
I guess it's kind of pick your poison a little bit. So,
all right,
other than that, still working on sewer, service line inspections, getting people to update their sewers. This will be the final year of our loan program. So we'll, at some point here this winter, we'll have to get another application put through to hopefully get that funding to help homeowners get their sewers updated. So that funding is there for that reason. Right. And it's been going pretty good, I think, for the most part. I get a lot of comments where people just couldn't believe that their sewer service, there's been nothing wrong with it for 100 years. And then you throw a camera in it and look at it. And it's like, whoa, didn't know that was in there. That was in there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically a lot of it's tree roots and things like that they just didn't expect to see. So, but anyway, other than that, 2023 or 4 project is complete, or somewhat complete, I guess.
Substantially.
Yeah. So, and Derek, I guess, comment on that a little bit more. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot of stuff else, I guess, for you guys.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the council? Well, keep up the good work, Joel. I know it's a never-ending job, and water infiltration and the cost of chemicals to treat all that stuff, and you know you're doing the best you can. And most people, when they run water down the drain or flush the toilet and it works, there's no problem. But the underlying problem is what you see every day, and the costs that comes out, in the end in their pocketbook, because a lot of extra expense with that water infiltration that comes through there. So it's a good program to get those clay tiles out of the city.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
one thing I will point out too is, back in June when we had all the flooding, just to give you kind of an idea what this is, a normal gallons probably per month, 10 million roughly is kind of a good number that we should be using.
Okay.
It should be really close to what you're pumping for water, and we're within about 1 million to 2 million gallons water usage versus sewer usage. And back in June, we were pushing close to 70 million. So gallons of
boy.
water.
So it's
Yeah.
rainwater.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it gives you
it's
gives you
water
kinda an idea of
infiltration.
what kind of,
Yep.
and that you got to remember too, it's not just piping, it's sump pumps, it's all them things. So,
Yeah,
I mean, we bypassed the lift station to keep sewer from backing up in people's houses. But there was 2 6-inch trash pumps and 4 4-inch pumps going, and we had all we could do to keep up with that at times. So with the bypass open, so
yeah.
I think if I did the numbers, we were pushing close to 30 million that we bypassed. So of water. So just to keep the sewers from,
So even when it's a dry time of year like now, there's 1 million gallons difference between what's pumped
Yep.
and what goes through the center. And I'm sure that 1 million gallons isn't all just watering your lawn.
no,
And but when you put it in a scale where 30 million over
Yep.
during the wet months,
yep.
yeah, that's a big problem.
And I think everyone needs to understand is the city recognizes we have issues too, but there's still homeowner issues as well too. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's the other part everyone needs to understand. We're spending the money to fix the stuff, but there's homeowners still have their stuff on their end that needs to be addressed as well. So
Sure.
But-
Okay. Yeah, it's a huge problem and there's no easy fix, that's
and,
for
and
sure.
we're not the only city in the state. So
Yeah.
it's all over. So
Okay. Well,
anything
thank you,
else?
Joel.
Yep. Thank you guys.
Liquor store manager is absent and building and zoning administrator. I don't see him. Okay, public works director. You're up, Mike.
Good evening. If you guys had a chance to look through the report, you got any questions on that? If not, I'll just touch on a couple of things we've been doing.
I have one question, Mike.
Yeah,
The new garbage truck, they backed it up in under a year.
the chassis just got to Labrie. I was gonna hit on that. Yeah, our chassis finally showed up at Labrie, which is the company in Canada that puts basically the compactor on the back of the chassis. And I texted Ben the other day, our salesman, and said, well, I got a council meeting. Do you have any good news? Yeah, it'll be here in August. I'm like,
It's
So-
supposed to be August of this year, correct? Originally?
it's supposed to be here right now. Like, they were shooting for fall-ish, yes, September, October. So, yeah. But he said, hopefully it'll be sooner. I can't imagine that it takes 10 months. I mean, to throw that on there. I'm not a mechanic, but I think I could even do it in less than 10 months, but maybe there's more to it than what I see. I shouldn't be that guy. It just seems like a long time to be up there.
Is that the one where they couldn't find for the longest time or
Our
what?
chassis,
Yeah.
it vanished and I still haven't gotten a clear answer from anybody on where it's at.
So it still might not be it.
Well,
They sold it to someone
Van Dyke's
else.
have ordered a truck after us and theirs is in service already.
Yeah,
I'm a little
yeah,
little
that's,
disgusted, and it falls into territory too. I can't,
Right.
I'm a little hand tied on some things where they can shop wherever they want. So, but it is what it is, I guess. I mean, at least the chassis is there and the truck's being produced. But yeah, that's still jaw dropping to me. I had that one highlighted to talk to you guys about. So maybe there'll be a little discount on the end.
Yeah, because it's been ordered for what, like a year and a half? or
It's
something,
it's been a little over a year since we pulled the trigger on it. And when you do that, you got to get the chassis built, and I understand that it takes time after that. But when one chassis that got ordered with ours made it, and the other one, our chassis didn't, yeah, I think somebody dropped the ball somewhere, and I don't have an answer for that, and I haven't gotten one from anybody. So it's a little frustrating, but I'm happy that it's there.
Right.
So, but.
good. Okay,
So yeah, other than that, we'll just continue with garbage. It's fall cleanup week this week. We filled one truck today is all. It was steady, but nothing too crazy, but it usually is slower in the fall when they actually got to bring it to us, which,
What are the hours for that?
it's 7 to 7 Monday through Thursday and then noon on Friday.
Okay, 7 to 7.
Yep, we're running running extra hours, and it's open from 7 to 7. I have somebody stay there through lunch, and then they take over after that and then stay till 7 o'clock. So, use up your garbage bags. Just a friendly reminder, there's not too many left out there, but at some point by the end of the year, I'd like to see them all used up. So that maybe 10 a week we're picking up is all at a few different houses here and there around town. I saw a yellow one out today. I couldn't believe that. I haven't seen a yellow city garbage bag in
That's-
years.
That's an antique.
Yeah, I
Right
about
there.
tipped over.
Should have saved it.
So, but yeah, other than that,
Okay.
couple things at the parks. The new playground, well, I shouldn't call it new. The playground equipment at the old Hill School property is installed. We're not done there yet. I got a few other things that we want to work on, but waiting to get that tornado siren moved a little bit so we can. It's kind of right in the middle of the park. I want to move it over and clean things up so we can add a few more things to that. So
It's been used a lot.
there's been a
already.
lot of kids over there. It's
Yes.
crazy. I'm glad it's there.
Being well utilized.
So, and we seeded and fertilized the other half of the soccer field. Started last week, finished up today, finished seeding it. Got the one run with the sprinkler on it. So hopefully that takes off and maybe we can save a little money on the backside if we don't have to sod next year. So
Good.
other than that, anything?
You and I talked not too long ago, but just for the record, can you explain the process on dead trees in the boulevard and on private property? And when they get to a point where they become a hazard and what has to take place?
As like the boulevard trees,
Boulevard trees and trees that are
city trees.
Right.
And if I see those, I'll X them, and I just basically I do a courtesy knock and say, hey, you got a pretty bad tree. We're gonna come take this down, grind the stump, clean it all up, and people normally don't say too much about them. They're our trees. Basically, we can do what we want, but as a courtesy, I just keep them in the loop. It's a lot easier than coming home and trees gone and have to explain that. Private trees, I am the only certified tree inspector we have, so I go around and if I see a dead one, I can go in there and mark it. Then there's a letter that Deb works with me and we send it out to the homeowner. And is it 30 days, Deb? They get 30 days from receiving the
Okay.
letter. They have to take that down.
Which
So-
isn't much time to get somebody there to take it down if you can't do it yourself.
right.
But it is a process, and that's
Mhm.
why I wanted you to explain
Yep.
it, that, if someone complains about a tree that's dead in a neighbor's yard or something, it's a process you have to go through. You
Yep.
just can't come in and take it out.
You're right. Yep.
So
And if anybody sees anything, they just got
But
to
if-
call City Hall or.
if it's an imminent threat to somebody's home or something, yeah, then I think you could do something right away, but
But if I will, to add to that,
yeah,
we give them the 30 days because if we give them more, then they can tend to just put it off and not get it done.
right.
But they do call, we work with them. Mike and I both have worked with them and they're very good about it. Give them time to at least call the tree trimmers that are licensed within the city of Pipestone and then they get that set up and then we know that they're taking the tree down.
Do you
Okay.
do that?
So-
Does the city do that for a fee also on
Exactly.
private property?
No.
Take down the trees?
For
No?
liability reasons, we
Okay.
can't do that.
We
anymore.
cannot do that.
And I know there's one in town that we've been working with and Excel's supposed to come in and give them a safe work zone. And now with all the stuff in Florida, I
Yep.
doubt that they're gonna come in anytime soon and get that down. But
But everybody else
So-
we're working with,
Yep.
they've already got it scheduled. There's 3 other trees in one of the businesses, but that of course letter has to go to Nebraska, so it could be a little bit.
so,
So as a certified tree inspector, if someone calls in and says, hey, I think my neighbor's tree is cracked down the middle and it looks dangerous, will you come and take a look at that on
I
private
can.
property?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's a service that we provide also, city level.
yep.
Good. Okay.
So
All right.
it's a super fun class on a Friday if you guys want to come with.
Oh, is there? They're coming up this Friday, huh?
No, it's usually on a Friday, but yeah, it's super exciting if you guys want to come and learn
Oh,
about
yeah.
oak wilt and Dutch elm disease. It's
Yeah.
some people really like that.
Okay.
I've been there, so I'll let somebody else.
I'll check my schedule. Thank you.
I'll save you a spot. So anything else?
Scott, you need a refresher?
I've been to the refreshers too. I'll pass.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
See you guys.
And don't see anybody from law enforcement, so let's move on to legal. Introduction of ordinance 159 4th series. This is an ordinance authorizing the sale of a parcel of real property owned by the city of Pipestone Economic Development Authority. This ordinance is in need to sell the lots 7 and 8 in Hubbard's Brother Edition to the EDA for the sum of $1. Previously, the city sold lot 9 and part of 10 to the EDA, which is the location of the EDA project house at 622 3rd Avenue Southwest. However, the city later acquired lots 7 and 8, and a garage was built on the lot that is now attached to lots 9 and 10. Therefore, this process is necessary to combine the 4 lots and have them all under the ownership of the EDA so the property can be sold. This ordinance will be up for council consideration during a special meeting planned to be held on October 11th. So we would need an introduction of ordinance 164 series, or I'm sorry. Yeah, introduction of ordinance 159 4 series. And I would so move that introduction. Introduction of ordinance 164 series, and that is an ordinance repealing the prohibition of the sale of edible cannabis products in the city of Pipestone. This ordinance repeals ordinance 149 4th series that was adopted by the city council on August 21st, 2023, and will allow for the sale of edible cannabis products within the city limits of Pipestone. This ordinance will be up for council consideration at the next regular city council meeting on October 21st.
You said, I just make just a slight correction there, Dan. You said cannabis products, it's cannabinoid.
Cannabinoid,
That's the lower potency.
two separate
Two
items.
separate.
Thank you for
Yep.
pointing that out.
Yep. I didn't want anybody to think that we were repealing the cannabis ordinance.
So this is the cannabinoid.
This is the THC drinks, the edibles. Yes. So it just needs to be introduced. We're just
I'll
repealing
move
that ordinance.
introduce ordinance 164 series.
So we have that introduced. Thank you. Engineering, 2023 Street and Utility Improvement Project, pay request number 11. City Engineer Winter is recommending that the council approve pay request number 11 in the amount of $506,259.75 to be paid to Holstein Excavation Inc. for work completed on the 2023 Street and Utility Improvement Project. And we could have an update on that project right now.
Be happy to. Well, as you can probably see, they wrapped up the surfacing work here over the last month. Most of this payment is driveways, sidewalks, and the remaining intersections that were completed since they did the mainline paving last month. Things went pretty well. Looks like they're seeding down as well. And then also tomorrow, we're planning on doing a walkthrough with the contractor to get started on a punch list and get that knocked out over the next month.
Okay. So entertain a motion to pay request number 11.
I'll make motion to pay request number 11.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or comments? I guess I just, I'm impressed with the work that's been done. It looks like a very, very nice street project. And what you see on the outside is just a small portion of it. And we have to keep in mind that that was a huge project, and I'm so grateful for the patience of the people that lived in that area and the businesses that were trying to maintain a business during this. But it was so important to get that infrastructure underneath up to date. And again, we're talking about the sewer and the water system, which is the biggest part of those projects in many areas. So, okay. But it sure turned out good, I think, now that it's over, or just about over.
Yep.
So I'll call the question then. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no, and motion carries. Thank you. Concession stand project pay request number 5. Okay, City Engineer Winter is recommending the council approve pay request number 5 in the amount of $149,311.31 to be paid to Double D Gravel for the work completed on the concession stand project. And also, do you want to give us an update on the concession stand? I know you're filling in for Travis, so.
I don't have much to note there.
Okay,
As the recreation director noted, it's pretty well done. This is essentially the rest payment less the retainage. So that's gotten wrapped up. They did some sodding out there and we're working on doing some seeding currently. So
good. All right.
things are looking pretty well.
And is that an all-season building? Will we be using that in the winter months? No, I don't think so anyway. So, we've got some time to get that completed and get that up and running for next spring, so, good. Entertain a motion for that pay request.
I move we accept pay request number 5.
We have a motion moved and seconded. Any other discussion, questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, say no, and motion carries. Thank you. New business, resolution 2024-55. This resolution authorizing the city to execute a grant agreement with Minnesota Department of Transportation, MnDOT, for airport cracking ceiling improvement to runway 18-36, taxiway A and apron taxi lanes. The federal share of this grant is $108,603. The state share of the grant is $6,033.50, and the city's share is estimated to be $6,033.50. So I'd entertain a motion to approve entering into this grant agreement.
I'll move resolution 2025-55.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Did I say 25? I'm sorry, 2024-55, yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Yep, Scott
Oh,
second.
we have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no, and motion carries. Thank you. Next up is a four-way stop sign at 2nd Street and 3rd Avenue Southeast. And I recommended that we initiate a stop sign intersection there. It's currently unregulated intersection with no regulatory signs. And we have a bus stop there now at our library, which is just one block south of there. I've had some contact with parents in that area, and I personally sat in that area before school, and there's probably 20 to 30 kids that come walking from all different directions. And I witnessed cars go through that intersection going north and south and east and west, and without batting an eye or slowing down. And I think it's only a matter of time before two of them meet at an angle that isn't going to be very good for anyone. And we want to make it as safe as possible too for the children crossing in that area. So I guess if we do decide to go with regulatory signs as the next step, would we be able to put in crosswalks on those new streets too? Because with the library there in that area, I think that would be a good idea too. So I'd entertain a motion to move ahead with this request.
Make the motion that we move ahead with the four-way stop at the intersection of 2nd Street and 3rd Avenue Southeast.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no, and motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next up is a proclamation for Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. Whereas Infants Remembered in Silence, Inc., IRS, and many other nonprofit organizations work with thousands of parents all over Minnesota and across the United States who have experienced the death of a child during pregnancy through early childhood. And whereas many of these parents live in, deliver in, have a child die in, or bury a child in our community. And whereas Infants Remembered in Silence, IRIS, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, was founded in 1987 to offer support for parents whose child or children died from miscarriage, apodic pregnancies, molar pregnancies, stillbirth, non-natal death, birth defects, sudden unexplained death of a child, SUDC, and sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, illness, accidents, and all other types of infants and early childhood death. And whereas bereaved parents around the world remember their children annually on October 15th with a candle lighting at 7 p.m. Some will remember their child or children in their homes, while others will remember them in small gatherings around the state, across the nation, and around the world, and would unify these parents in tribute to their children. And whereas in 1988, President Ronald Reagan proclaimed October as National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And whereas in honor of the thousands of children that die each year in Minnesota, Infants Remembered in Silence respectfully request that October 15th, 2024 be recognized as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. Therefore, I, Dan Delaney, Mayor of Pipestone, do hereby proclaim October 15th, 2024 as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day in the city of Pipestone, Minnesota. And thank you. I'd also like to read another proclamation into the record. Whereas the city of Pipestone recognizes the occupation of indigenous homeland for the building of our cities, and known indigenous nations have lived upon this land since time immemorial, and values the progress of our society accomplished through and by the American Indian through culture and technology, and whereas the city of Pipestone understands the importance of closing the equity gap between and by government entities, organizations, and other public institutions, and to encourage change in policies and practices to better reflect the capabilities of American Indian people and recognize their indigenous roots, history, and contributions. And whereas the city of Pipestone supports education, which provides an accurate historical record of the discovery of the United States of America, and whereas the city of Pipestone has a strong history throughout the years of supporting the American Indian community and its citizens, advancement in our current society, and whereas the city of Pipestone shall continue its efforts to promote the well-being and growth of the local American Indian community and indigenous communities, and whereas Indigenous Peoples Day shall be used to reflect upon the ongoing struggles of indigenous people on their land and to celebrate the thriving culture and value indigenous nations add to our city. Therefore, I, Dan Delaney, do hereby proclaim October 14th, 2024 as Indigenous Peoples Day in Pipestone, Minnesota. And I encourage other businesses, organizations, and public entities to recognize Indigenous People Day as well. And I'd just like to point out that American Indian people is a term that's used from many, many years ago. And basically, the first treaties use that language. So it's a legal term, but it's not a preferred term in today's world. These are native people of these lands, and that's the way they should be addressed, as native people of the lands. And so I just wanted to read that into the record as well. So thank you on that. That will conclude our agenda for the day. Closing comments from anyone. I'll open that up. And I'd just like to point out that this week is Fire Prevention Week, and it's been extremely dry in our area. And so please take precautions with any outdoor flames, and also check your smoke detectors for batteries. Make sure that things are working well. You have less than just a minute to get out of a burning home. It's unbelievable. And I know our fire department has some people that have been posting on social media, and we just want to get the word out there. Just think caution, think safety. We want to get through the harvest without any tragedies. So be aware of that. Also want to point out that we have cleanup fix-up week this week, and that's not picking up on the curb. That's drop off at the city highway department. And the hours on that's been posted on social media. It's also been in the paper, I believe. And so that would be till, I think it's from 7 till 7, Monday through
Thursday.
Thursday. And then Friday, we're going
7 to noon.
7 till noon. So if you have some stuff that you gotta get rid of, want to get rid of it for the winter, bring it down to the highway department and take care of it for you. So any other
Not
comments?
the highway.
Not highway.
Or, I'm sorry,
We're getting
the
Public Works.
Public Works,
Yeah.
City Street Department, Public Works.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't wanna, yeah, sorry about that. Okay, any other comments?
Don't forget about the fireman's fundraiser on Saturday.
We have a fireman's dance. That's their annual fundraiser, and that's Saturday evening. And I bought my tickets, but I said I won't probably be there because my dancing days are over. But be sure and get out and enjoy yourself and support our fire department. It's a great cause. They use that money for equipment that they need, and there's never an end for the equipment that they need to help make our community as safe as possible. So, and that's at, Danielle, do you know?
The
that-
Legion.
That's at the Legion. And do you know what time that starts? Is it like 6?
9.
9 o'clock is the dance?
wanna say
Okay,
9.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anything else from anyone else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Jason.